Welcome to this session of Bharat Gyan. In this session, we shall look at the metallurgical prowess of India, how metallurgy was a brand for India, and more so in particular, how it was iron and zinc which gave this brand to India. There were many centers of production all across India. You have from Lahore, Amritsar, Agra, Jaipur, Gwalior, Tanjore, Mysore, Golconda, Malabar, Salem, Gulbarga, all of these. And very sadly, none of these centers survive today. And all of these centers, how do we get to know of them? Because there was this Francis Buchanan, a French traveler, 17th century traveler.
Book called Journey Through Malabar. Of course, he traveled all over India, but the book starts with Journey Through Malabar.
And he observes the manufacture of the steel and he calls it by a crucible process. That was how the people in India were manufacturing it, and he sees it at Mysore, Malabar, Golconda. So fundamentally around this region, and that's when he records it. But what is the corroboration we have for all of this? So that is Delhi pillar that some of us may have visited and we know about. But look at these. There are so many iron pillars strewn all across India which many of us are not aware of. But look at another one. Now there is one in Mount Abu.
This is in front of a temple. It's like a trishul. This is about 12 feet tall. Look at this pillar. This stands tall. This is also about 500 years old pillar there in Mount Abu, which is of course famous for other temples. But this particular Achaleshwar temple has this pillar. Now let's look at something down south. This is a place called Kolluru Mukambika in western Karnataka on the Sahyadri hills. Sahyadri range of hills. There is a particular hill called the Kodajadri hills near Kollur in Karnataka. This is near the famous Mukambika temple. And there Adi Shankara 2500 years back had visited this particular temple Mukambika and visited this iron pillar. So the locals, the Vanavasi, who were the Lohia of those people, who were the Kammari, who made iron and steel, they had made this pillar then in commemoration of his visit. Is what the local folklore is, the local things. But the point here is it's a dense forest. In this forest, look at the slender pillar there. Thin pillar, much thinner than what you find in the Delhi iron pillar. But so it's a long pillar. It's about almost 9.76 meters and this is small feet. But the key point is you have to remember is this place, Kodajadri Hills, gets heavy monsoon every year. Heavy means very heavy monsoon. As much rain as Cherrapunji would get, this particular hills get, because Agumbe, the other place in India which gets almost equal rainfall to Cherrapunji in Meghalaya, this gets rainfall. So this is very close to Agumbe. So the amount of rainfall is so high here. In spite of it, for 2500 years, it's not rusted. So it speaks volumes, because if you look at the Delhi iron pillar, it's about 1500 years. This is 1000 years prior to that, and Kodajadri Hills is closer to the coast. So you will get some saline winds also. In spite of the saline winds and more importantly, in spite of the heavy monsoon, it has not rusted. That's the beauty of this pillar. So this is a Chitrabula cave where Adi Shankara 2500 years back is thought to have meditated here by the Kodajadri Hills. And look at this pillar here. Now this is this closer pillar now. The temple, thin, tall pillar. This is a very small temple. It's a very low temple, but very famous temple, and made more famous because of this iron pillar.
Then we go to central India, Dhar, which was the area of Raja Bhoja.
It's the capital of the Malwa kingdom. And different kings have built different victory pillars. Here this particular Raja of Dhar, he had built a victory pillar in 1175. It was an iron pillar that he had built, and later, that is the Mughal king Jahangir, he mentions having seen this pillar standing tall.
So he says in Dhar, this pillar was standing tall. When Jahangir was alive, he has seen the pillar standing tall. And Bahadur Shah, later from Gujarat, he removed it. Then again, like Iltutmish, he wanted to have it transported to his kingdom. But in the process, it fell and broke into 3 pieces. And these 3 pieces now are in 3 different places. The first piece, which is about 24 feet 3 inches tall, is in Lat Masjid.
Which is then known as the Pillar Mosque, because the pillar was there. It was called Pillar Mosque.
Then there is a second piece which is 11 feet 7 inches
Which was in a
tall.
school, which was kept in a local school there. And the third piece, which is there in a garden. Now, of course, all these 3 pieces now have been brought to. See, this is how the pieces were found by the British then. This is about 100 years back. So they have tried to reassemble these pieces and brought them all to one place now. Look at the thickness and the
And
strength.
the total weight of all the pieces put together is about 7 tons.
Massive, huge, isn't it? Look at the size of the pillars. So they've all brought them from 3 places to one place. Then let's go to.
Tanginat. Again, now here you
It's
have.
a Trishul. It's 17 feet tall Trishul, thick Trishul. So it was dug into the ground, and again rust proof. And the local legend goes that it is from the Mahabharata period. So now people have sort of dug it out so that they can see the more portions of the Trishul. So it was, even though it was the ground and moisture, everything, it has been rust proof since then.
And saying goes from the locals that it is from this region that the arms needed during the Mahabharata period were supplied.
For the famous Kurukshetra war.
So this Tanginath was a center for manufacturing much of the armory in those times.
It was in the belt where all the Vanavasis were living. It was all in the forest. So they could have access to the ore.
Then you have another pillar in Mand. There's a
Opposite the
Jami
masjid. So obviously earlier there would have been a temple when the pillar would have been there. So now this was built in front of a temple then. This is again 11 feet tall. Look at this. Each across India, you got these wonderful pillars. Now let's go to Konark. All of you are aware of the famous Konark Sun Temple. In the yard of the Konark Sun Temple, there are these 239 iron beams, 17 feet to 35 feet long and about 1 square foot in a square. So these are so many pillars. Now they've all been sort of removed from different parts and then sort of laid out together. So it's available there. So what you see is, no, it's not just 1 pillar or 2 pillars. There are 239 iron beams of this size. That's a huge quantity of iron pillars, and Konark is on the sea coast. 800 years, it's not rusted because of the saline waters.
The other important aspect to note with regards to Konark is the temple was renowned for the idol that was levitating. It was never fixed on the ground. The idol was suspended in air. Now, looking at the number of iron pillars over here, one can imagine that these would have helped in designing this magnetic levitating design for the idol. So they might have come in use in creating that necessary magnetic field so that the idol would stay suspended.
So the local legend is that when the Portuguese came there, they probably destroyed that because they tried to tamper with it, and they did something because of which the magnetic balance was lost and the whole thing fell apart, and the whole temple also, some of the mantapas of the temple have fallen apart. It's only now recently some substantial amount of renovation has been going on to make the Konark temple more accessible for all of us now to watch, to go in and enjoy the beauty of this temple. It's a sun temple.
In fact, there was yet another similar suspended idol, a temple with a suspended idol in Karnataka, in the Vijayanagar Empire also. There was another such similar temple for Narsimha.
So here we see iron pillars all across India. We have just shown you a sample of 4 or 5, but every other place from the northeast to the northwest to the south to the north, all over India, they've got stories of local stories of wonderful iron pillars, which all speak about a hoary tradition of the Kammari, the Lohia, who have been working with iron, their hands, and have produced products which have withstood time, which have withstood nature beautifully, and showcased to us as to how this land of Bharat, Bhartiyo, has been a land of great metallurgists who have earned fame for themselves, their family, their kula, and their trade, which has transgressed time, and speak stories of their monumental efforts.